Salutations, my scrumptious, squeakly sour sops. Today, we're going to talk about differences between similar versions of a similar product. Now, I know that there are Volps on the table here right now, but we're not going to talk about them. I'm using them as examples of similar products that are different. No, today, we're going to talk about serifs. So lately I've been seeing people a little bit confused trying to figure out what's the difference between an OG and a new serif. So today, I'm going to teach you how to spot the difference so that in case somebody isn't sure what they're selling or if somebody is trying to cheat you out of something, you know exactly what you're getting just by looking at it. Now, most of these differences are going to be cosmetic, but there is one major functional difference between the two types that is important to know depending on what you want to do with the serif. Now, some people call it the V1 and the V2. I don't know if I would want to call it version 1 or version 2 really, because even machine-wise still just calls it the serif. Most of it is still the same design, most of it still flips the same as between the two types, but sometimes I will still call it a version 1 or version 2 just to help people understand which one I'm talking about, because some people still want to just say V1, V2, and that's okay. But I personally just call it the OG and the new serif. So first things first, how to spot the difference. One works on the Marin platform. That's it. No, I'm just kidding, there's more differences, I'll explain them. So immediately upon first inspection, the first thing that you should look for is a milled logo versus a lasered logo. Immediately you can tell which one is a new serif by the lasered logo. Dalen only recently got a laser as of last year, 2023, early in the year. So before, he used to completely just mill the logo and the serial number on the back here. Look at that, it's number 69, look at that, it's my 69. And just to further drive the point home, on the back of this one, it's also lasered. So you can tell immediately the difference between an OG and a new one by the milled versus lasered text on them. This one's also 69, by the way, look at that. They're both 69, I love both of them, look at them both. Look at that. I asked Dalen for a special card for this one because this one never had a card. And look, he added 69, nice. Isn't that incredible? Thank you, Dalen, by the way, love ya, you're incredible. Now another cosmetic difference between the two versions is that the OG sometimes has milling lines on the bevel of the blade. You can see that this one is smooth. For between, I believe it's number 20 to 250 of the original serifs, they were just flat like this. But some of the earliest ones and some of the later ones had mill lines on the bevel, just like, say, an Opus or a Tsunami. These ones never had any mill lines on the bevel ever. So if it has mill lines, you can also tell immediately that that one is a OG serif, not a new one. Now for this difference, I don't expect many people to really be able to do this by eye, and you really shouldn't be able to. You kind of need two serifs to compare. You need an OG and a new one, but the OGs have a broader Zen nipple. The new ones have a thinner Zen nipple, because these ones are the Marin platform, these ones are proprietary. You can see when you put them up against each other that one is more broad than the other, and that's why this was changed, because the Machine-Wise team wanted to put these on the Marin platform just like the rest of their products, which is cool. But unfortunately that leaves these guys just kind of a proprietary weirdo out there, just kind of its own thing. Granted, why not? And that's kind of it for the exterior differences. It's mostly cosmetic, like I said. The only functional thing that's really different between the two is the Marin platform. Now there are some small differences feel-wise, like the originals feel a little bit boxier while the new ones feel a little bit softer in the hand. I think the chamfers might be a little bit deeper than the original ones, and I've had a few of these, and I've had a few of these. It seems to be universal between the two that this one's boxier and this one's softer, but you're not really going to be able to see that. As you can see, they're almost exactly the same. You're not going to be able to see that, you're gonna have to feel it. But if you get to feel both of them, you might understand what I'm talking about. Now, let's go on the inside of these. Let's break them open. Twist, 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 twist. Alright, we're in. So first of all, the serif, no matter which type, is Chanwich. And as you can see, they still look very similar on the inside. For the most part, they're the exact same knife, just minor differences as I mentioned before. So one of the first differences you're going to see on the inside of the handles here is the original ones have these extra holes in them that the new ones do not. These are threaded because they used to have to be screwed into the template plates that Dalen used to use to machine them. Now he uses something that holds them in without having to screw them in, so you get these ones that don't need these holes. It changes the weight very slightly, but it's not enough to really change that it's still a serif. It feels very, very close. It's such a minor difference, but it is a cosmetic difference that you're going to notice between an old and a new one. Another little difference that I noticed on the inside of the sandwich here are these little studs and holes on the edges here, likely used to hold the sandwich pieces together so that the handle halves don't slide around. Not that they really will, but it's just an extra piece of precaution. The original ones are a little bit closer together. You can see that they're right here and here. The new ones are farther apart from each other, here and here. That's just a small difference, but it's still a difference, so why not mention it? And here at the bottoms where the weights will go, you can see that there's another one of those holes. This one is actually not just meant for screwing in the pieces to the template plate, but also to keep the weights that go in them, these brass ones down here, it keeps them from rattling around inside the handles if they do rattle, if they don't fit properly. So this one has one, this one doesn't. Why doesn't the new one have it? Well, let me show you. Now these are the brass weights that come with both serifs and opus. They fit in both, they work the same, but these are two different weights. They don't weigh the same, and let me show you why. Now if you look on the other side here, this one is fully solid. This one has one of those holes milled into the weight instead of the handles. Newer serifs, because they don't have that hole in them, have it in the weights instead. Now you can put the nylon screw in this instead of the handles. Now I don't know if it's on all of the new serifs, because I had a first production serif from the new batch, number 7, and it had these fully solid weights with it. I don't remember if it has the holes in the handles. It's been a while, and I don't have any pictures of the inside of the handles, so if somebody has an older new serif, feel free to comment and let me know if it has the thing in it. I don't know. Now the hardware I'm not going to use as an indicator between new versus old serif, because hardware is easy to change. Hardware can be changed very easily by the user. In fact, most of MachineWise's stuff is encouraged to be taken apart to be changed and customized to personal preference. Old ones came with this T10 64 threads per inch type of screw and pivot, and they came with bronze washers. New ones typically come with their new in-house made hardened steel screws that are still 64 threads per inch, but they're T15 now. And also they come with steel washers. But that doesn't mean that people don't interchange the hardware between the two. I have seen new screws in old ones, and old hardware was used in new serifs until about August when they started making their in-house hardware. So this is not a good indicator between what's new versus old. It's just a little fun fact about the hardware and how it's changed throughout MachineWise's use. Oh yeah, and before I forget, the hollow weights also are the same way. This one is an older one, doesn't have the hole. This one is a newer one, has the hole. If you flip them over, you can still see the thing in them. There's a difference, you can see it there. All right, so let's get these back together and talk about how they feel when you're using them, right? All right, let's do that. All right, that's better. Now, I just know that there's going to be people wondering or asking, well, how do they flip? Which one's better at flipping? Which one is better than the other? Is one better than the other? Okay, so here's the thing. I have only recently been getting into flipping. I've been a long-term collector, but I've only been flipping for about a year. So I'm not the best person to ask these kinds of things, okay? So if you're good with that, just take my words with a grain of salt, and I'll try my best. We'll see what goes on and what I say. Take it with a grain of salt, though. So let me just start off with that. Neither is better than the other, all right? It's all subjective. Everything in this hobby is subjective. Titanium versus aluminum, handle bias versus neutral versus even blade bias, G10 or no G10. What is the weight that you like? Everything is subjective. Nobody's the same. Some people have similar tastes, but it's all subjective. Everybody's going to have their favorite ballad song. Everybody's going to have their favorite weight distribution. Everybody's going to have their favorite material. That's very subjective. They're both very good in their own rights. That I can say. They're both extremely good. So let's take that as it is. Now let's talk about the general flipping experience. So by design, the Serif is a very end-heavy type of ballad song. There's a lot of weight towards the ends of the handles and a lot of tip weight on the blade. That means that it's a very end-heavy type of ballad song from both sides. that is really good for a lot of modern flipping and modern tricks because it is able to hold up that momentum that you want to keep for being flowy or doing these advanced tricks that you don't just want them to stop. But it's also got a good weight distribution so that it doesn't have weird hot spots all over it where, say, like a Cygnus has that weird lightness in the middle of the handles because it's got that huge milled out part for the G10 inlays. This one is just very consistent for the most part with small hot spots that keep the momentum going. The same applies for here. The only difference here is that maybe the new one is a little bit more handle biased just because it doesn't have as much milled out of the handles. Otherwise, they're a very similar experience. You're not going to be unhappy with either of these. They're both very good ballad songs. I would recommend either one, depending on which one you're looking for. If you're looking for one to just interchange things with the rest of the Machine-Wise line, go for the new one. If you just want a serif for the sake of a serif, get the old one. People sell them for relatively cheap right now, so why not go for it, right? Now, if you stuck around this long, how about a little treat? I'll do a little sound test. I know that people like the sound test, so why not do a sound test, eh? Alright, and that's pretty much all you need to know for the differences between the OG and the new Serif. Not a lot of differences, mostly cosmetic, but I am surprised how much footage I actually got out of this. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Leave a subscription if you'd actually like to. I don't know why you would. And say goodbye to Serif 69 and Serif 69.